So we have asked a variety of people from the community to come help us read a condensed version of Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Common Sense is 37 pages. We have an edition out front. We would be here a really long time if we tried to read the whole thing. So we have condensed it down to the portions. And I must thank Barbara Crane, who's not here with us today, and Judah Freed, who's a board member, for helping condense it down. And also I want to thank the other Thomas Paine Historical Association that are here with us. We have Adrian, who's helping with the tech. We have our board president, Gary Berton, who will be helping answer your questions afterwards. And we have John, who's been in the foyer, who's been our greeter for the day. So with that, I am going to start. The first portion of our community read is going to be led by Assemblywoman Paulin. Hold it or click it? I'm not sure.
Does this make me louder? No.
No, it just allows the people in Zoom to hear you.
Okay, good. Introduction. The cause of America is in a great measure the cause of all mankind. Many circumstances have and will arise which are not local, but universal, and through which the principles of all lovers of mankind are affected, and in the event of which their affections are interested. The laying a country desolate with the fire and sword, declaring war against the natural lights of all mankind, and extirpating the defenders thereof from the face of the earth is the concern of every man to whom nature hath given the power of feeling.
Thank you. Next reader is Chris Clark.
Society in every state is a blessing, but government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil. In its worst state, an intolerable one. For when we suffer or are exposed to the same miseries by a government, which we might expect in a country without government, our calamity is heightened by reflecting that we furnish the means by which we suffer. Government, like dress, is the badge of lost innocence. The palaces of kings are built on the ruins of the bowers of paradise. For when the impulses of conscience, clear, uniform, and irresistibly obeyed, man would need no other lawgiver. But that not being the case, he finds it necessary to surrender up a part of his property to furnish means for the protection of the rest. And this he is induced to do by the same prudence which in every other case advises him out of two evils to choose the least. Wherefore, security, being the true design and end of government, it unanswerably follows that whatever form thereof appears most likely to ensure it to us with the least expense and greatest benefit is preferable to all others. Here, then, is the origin and rise of government. Namely, a mode rendered necessary by the inability of moral virtue to govern the world. Here too is the design and end of government, namely freedom and security.
All right, so our next reader is Yadira Ramos-Herbert. You want to flip it on or?
For the Zoom. Okay, excellent. There is something exceedingly ridiculous in the composition of a monarchy. It first excludes a man from the means of information, yet empowers him to act in cases where the highest judgment is required. The state of a king shuts him from the world, yet the business of a king requires him to know it thoroughly. Wherefore, the different parts, by unnaturally opposing and destroying each other, prove the whole character to be absurd and useless.
Next reader is going to come up on the screen. It was a video that was sent from our friends in the UK.
To the evil of monarchy, we have added that of hereditary succession. And as the first is a degradation and a lessening of ourselves, so the second is an insult and imposition on posterity. For as all men being originally equals, no one by birth could have the right to set up his own family in perpetual preference to all others forever. And though himself might deserve some decent degree of honours of his contemporaries, yet his descendants might be far too unworthy to inherit them. One of the strongest natural proofs of the folly of hereditary rights in kings is that nature disproves it. Otherwise, she would not so frequently turn it into ridicule by giving mankind an ass.
Thank you. Our next reader is Councilwoman Sara Kaye.
Secondly, as no man at first could possess any other public honors than were bestowed upon him, so the givers of those honors could have no power to give away the right of posterity. And though they might say, "We choose you for our head," they could not, without manifest injustice to their children, say that your children or your children's children shall reign over ours forever, because such unwise, unjust, unnatural compact might, perhaps, in the next succession, put them under the government of a rogue or a fool. Most wise men, in their private sentiments, have ever treated hereditary right with contempt. Yet it is one of those evils which, once established, is not easily removed. Many submit from fear, others from superstition, and the more powerful part shares with the king the plunder of the rest.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's 2 or 3 still Do you want to come on in?
But it is not so much the absurdity as the evil of hereditary succession which concerns mankind. Did it ensure a race of good and wise men, it would have sealed of divine authority. But as it opens a door to the foolish, the wicked, and the improper, it hath in the nature of oppression. Men who look upon themselves born to reign and others to obey, soon grown insolent. Selected from the rest of mankind, their minds are early poisoned by importance. And the world they act in differs so materially from the world at large, and that they have but little opportunity of knowing its true interests. And when they succeed to the government, are frequently the most ignorant and unfit of any throughout the dominions.
Legislator Clements.
Another evil which attends hereditary succession is that the throne is subject to be possessed by a minor at any age, all which time the regency, acting under the cover of a king, has every opportunity and inducement to betray their trust. The same national misfortune happens when a king, worn out with age and infirmity, enters the last stage of human weakness. In both these cases, the public becomes prey to every miscreant who can tamper successfully with the follies either of age or infancy. In short, monarchy and succession have laid not this or that kingdom only, but the world in blood and ashes. 'Tis a form of government which the word of God bears testament against, and the blood will attend it.
The sun never shined on a cause of greater worth. 'Tis not the affair of a city, a county, a province, or a kingdom, but of a continent of at least 1/8 part of the habitable globe. 'Tis not the concern of a day, a year, or an age. Posterity are virtually involved in the contest and will be more or less affected even to the end of time by the proceedings now. Alas, we have been long led by ancient prejudices and made large sacrifices to superstition. We have boasted the protection of Great Britain without considering that her motive was interest, not attachment. That she did not protect us from our enemies on our account, but from her enemies on her own account. From those who have had no quarrel with us on any other account, and who will always be our enemies on the same account. Let Britain waive her pretensions to the continent, or the continent throw off the dependence, and we should be at peace with France and Spain, were they at war with Britain.
Our next reading is going to again be on our video from Paul Miles, who's a Thomas Paine Historical Association member. Board member.
Besides, what have we to do with setting the world at defiance? Our plan is commerce, and that, well attended to, will secure us the peace and friendship of all Europe, because it's in the interest of all Europe to have America a free port. Her trade will always be a protection, and her barrenness of gold and silver secure her from invaders. I challenge the warmest advocate for reconciliation to show a single advantage that this continent can reap by being connected with Great Britain. I repeat the challenge. Not a single advantage is derived. Our corn will fetch its price in any market in Europe, and our imported goods must be paid for them where we will. But the injuries and disadvantages we sustain by that connection are without number, and our duty to mankind at large, as well as to ourselves, instruct us to renounce the alliance, because any admission to or dependence on Great Britain tends to directly involve this continent in European wars and quarrels, and sets us at variance with nations who would otherwise seek our friendship, and against whom we have neither anger nor complaint. As Europe is our market for trade, we ought to find no partial connection with any part of it. It is in the true interests of America to steer clear of European contentions, which she can never do, while her dependence on Britain, she is made the makeweight in the scale of British politics.
Speaker is Lauren Samuels.
It is repugnant to reason, to the universal order of things, to all examples from former ages, to suppose that this continent can longer remain subject to any external power. Reconciliation is now a fallacious dream. Nature hath deserted the connection, and art cannot supply her place. For as Milton wisely expresses, never can true reconciliation grow where wounds of deadly hate have pierced so deep. Every quiet method of for peace hath been ineffectual. Our prayers have been rejected with disdain, and only tended to convince us that nothing flatters vanity or confirms abstinency in kings more than repeated pensioning, and nothing hath contributed more than that very measure to make the kings of Europe obsolete, witness Denmark and Sweden. Wherefore, since nothing but blows will do, for God's sake, let us come to a final separation, and not leave the next generation to be cutting throats under the violated, unmeaning names of parent and child.
Right.
Yeah, okay. As to government matters, it is not in the power of Britain to do this continent justice. The business of it will soon be too weighty and intricate to be managed with any tolerable degree of convenience by a power so distant from us and so very ignorant of us. For if they cannot conquer us, they cannot govern us. To be always running 3,000 or 4,000 miles with a tale or a petition, waiting 4 or 5 months for an answer, which when obtained requires 5 or 6 more to explain it in, will in a few years be looked upon as folly and childishness. There was a time when it was proper, and there is a proper time for it to cease.
Okay, our next reading is again a video from Judah Freed, who also is a TPHA board member.
No man was a warmer wisher for reconciliation than myself before the fatal 19th of April, 1775. But the moment the event of that day was made known, I rejected the hardened, sullen-tempered Pharaoh of England forever, and disdained the wretch who, with the pretended title of father of his people, can unfeelingly hear of their slaughter and composedly sleep with their blood upon his soul. But the most powerful of all arguments is that nothing but independence, that is, a continental form of government, can keep the peace of the continent and preserve it inviolate from civil wars. I dread the event of reconciliation with Britain now, and it is more than probable that it will be followed by revolt somewhere or other, the consequences of which may be more fatal than all the malice of Britain.
Next speaker is Catherine.
If there is any true cause of fear respecting independence, it is because no plan is yet laid down. Men do not see their way out, wherefore, as an opening into that business, I offer the following hints. At the same time, modestly affirming that I have no other opinion of them myself than that they may be the means of giving rise to something better. Could the straggling thoughts of individuals be collected, they would frequently form materials for wise and able men to improve into useful matter. Let the assemblies be annual with a president only, the representation more equal, their business wholly domestic and subject to the authority of a continental Congress. Let each colony be divided into 6, 8, or 10 convenient districts, each district to send a proper number of delegates to Congress, so that each colony send at least 30. The whole number in Congress will be at least 390, each Congress to sit and to choose a president.
So our next speaker was going to be with us in person, but has an injury, so he's joining us by Zoom.
The conferring members being met, let their business be to frame a continental charter or charter of the United Colonies, answering to what is called the Magna Carta of England, fixing the number and manner of choosing members of Congress, members of Assembly with their date of sitting, and drawing a line of business and jurisdiction between them, always remembering that our strength is continental, not provincial, securing freedom and property to all men, and above all things, the free exercise of a religion according to the dictates of conscience, with such other matter as is necessary for a charter to contain. Immediately after which, the said conference to dissolve, and the bodies which shall be chosen conformable to the said charter, to be the legislators and governors of this continent for the time being, whose peace and happiness may God preserve. Amen. Should any body of men be hereafter delegated for this or some similar purpose, I offer them the following extracts of that wise observer on government's Dragonetti. The science, says he, of a politician consists in fixing the true point of happiness and freedom. Those men would deserve the gratitude of ages, who should discover a mode of government that contained the greatest sum of individual happiness with the least national expense. From Dragonetti on Virtues and Rewards.
Thank you. Speaker is sending in Otis.
But where says some is the King of America? I'll tell you, friend, he reigns above and doth not make havoc of mankind like the royal brute of Britain. Yet, that we may not appear to be defective even in earthly honors, let a day be soundly set apart for proclaiming the charter. Let it be brought forth, placed on the divine law, the word of God. Let a crown be placed thereon, by which the world may know that so far we approve of monarchy, that in America the law is king. For as in absolute government the king is law, so in free countries the law ought to be king, and there ought to be no other. But lest any ill use should afterwards arise, let the crown at the conclusion of the ceremony be demolished and scattered among the people whose right it is.
And our last video before our intermission is from board member Scott Cleary.
A government of our own is our natural right. And when a man seriously reacts on the precariousness of human affairs, he will become convinced that it is infinitely wiser and safer to form a constitution of our own in a cool, deliberate manner while we have it in our power. O ye that love mankind, ye that dare oppose not only the tyranny, but the tyrant, stand forth. Every spot of the old world is overrun with oppression. Freedom hath been hunted round the globe. Asia and Africa have long expelled her. Europe regards her like a stranger, and England hath given her warning to depart. Oh, receive the fugitive, and prepare in time an asylum for mankind.
So our next reading to start us off is Margaret Dowdy. She's going to be on the video, and she is heading an effort to have Thomas Paine's sculpture in Washington.
It is not in numbers, but in unity that our great strength lies. Yet our present numbers are sufficient to repel the force of all the world. Debts we have none, and whatever we may contract on this account will serve as a glorious memento of our virtue. Can we but leave posterity with a settled form of government, an independent constitution of its own, the purchase at any price will be cheap. But to expend millions for the sake of getting a few vile acts repealed and routing the present ministry only is unworthy the charge, and is posterity with the utmost cruelty, because it is leaving them the great work to do and a debt upon their backs from which they derive no advantage. Such a thought is unworthy of a man of honor, and is the true characteristic of a narrow heart and a peddling politician. No country on the globe is so happily situated and so internally capable of raising a fleet as America. Wherefore, what is it that we want? Why is it that we hesitate?
Our next reader, just make sure this is on. Can you hear? Okay. Just click, yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh. Apparently, I did something bad and it's not on. Can you hear now? Okay, sorry.
It's okay. Youth is the seed time of good habits, as well in nations as in individuals. It might be difficult, if not impossible, to form the continent into one government half a century hence. The vast variety of interests occasioned by an increase of trade and population would create confusion. Colony would be against colony. Each being able might scorn each other's assistance, and while the proud and foolish gloried in their little distinctions, the wise would lament that the union had not been formed before. Wherefore, the present time is the true time for establishing it. The intimacy which is contracted in infancy and the friendship which is formed in misfortune are, of all others, the most lasting and unalterable. Our present union is marked with both these characters. We are young, and we have been distressed, but our concord hath withstood our troubles, and fixes a memorable area for posterity to glory in. I'm sorry. No worries.
So we've had a little change of plans. Instead of having Gary Bush be our next speaker, we're going to have Constance People. Just a clip.
As to religion, I hold it to be the indispensable duty of all government to protect all conscientious professors thereof, and I know of no other business which government hath to do therewith. For myself, I fully and conscientiously believe that it is the will of the Almighty that there should be diversity of religious opinions among us. It affords a larger field for our Christian kindness. Were we all of one way of thinking, our religious dispositions would want matter for probation. And on this liberal principle, I look on the various denominations among us to be like children of the same family, differing only in what is called their Christian names.
Speakers.
To conclude, however strange it may appear to some, or however unwilling they may be to think so, matters not. But many strong and striking reasons may be given to show that nothing can settle our affairs so expeditiously as an open and determined declaration of independence. It is unreasonable to suppose that France or Spain will give us any kind of assistance if we mean only to make use of that assistance for the purpose of repairing the breach and strengthening the connection between Britain and America, because those powers would be sufferers by the consequences. These proceedings may at first appear strange and difficult, but like all other steps which we have already passed over, will in a little time become familiar and agreeable. And until independence is declared, the continent will feel itself like a man who continues putting off some unpleasant business from day to day, yet knows it must be done, hates to set about it, wishes it over, and is continually haunted with the thoughts of its necessity.
Our next speaker is on video, Zenos Brekas. He is the sculptor who we hope will do the sculpture of Tom Paine in Washington.
I shall conclude these remarks with the following timely and well-intended hints. We ought to reflect that there are three different ways by which an independency may hereafter be affected, and that one of those three will one day or other be the fate of America. By the legal voice of the people in Congress, by military power, or by a mob. It may not always happen that our soldiers are citizens, and the multitude a body of reasonable men. Virtue, as I have already remarked, is not hereditary, neither is it perpetual. Should an independency be brought about by the first of those means, we have every opportunity and every encouragement before us to form the noblest, purest constitution on the face of the earth. We have it in our power to begin the world over again.
Our next two speakers. And after Shelley, Senator Mayer and Senator Fernandez speak, there's going to be one section that I think everyone should read, and it's going to be up on the screen so that we can all feel like we were a part. Okay?
A situation similar to the present hath not happened since the days of Noah until now.
The birthday of a new world is at hand, and a race of men, perhaps as numerous as all Europe contains, are to receive the portion of freedom from the event of a few months.
The reflection is awful, and in this point of view, how trifling, how ridiculous do the little paltry cavillings of a few weak or interested men appear when weighed against the business of a world. Instead of gazing at each other,
Hold on. Excuse me. So we're going to put it up on the screen. There's a little segment.
We know the secret text.
I sent you all a segment for everyone to read. You didn't get it? I guess you will be reading it by yourself.
Okay, I'll start. Together.
Slowly, okay. Instead of gazing at each other with suspicious or doubtful curiosity, let each of us hold out to his neighbor the hearty hand of friendship
and unite in drawing a line, which, like an act of oblivion, shall bury in forgetfulness every former dissension. Let the names of Whig and Tory be extinct, and let none other be heard among us than those of a good citizen, an open and resolute friend, and a virtuous supporter of the rights of mankind and of the free and independent states of America.
You. Yes. All right, so we have questions. Has everyone given in their questions? More Gary Berton, no relation, is so okay. So what? Okay. All right. So for the questions that we have, what was the power view, the Paine view of common sense? What was he wanting to have occurred? Why did he write it, I guess?
Okay. Everybody read the question. He wanted an independent America, and he wanted a democratic government. He didn't write about that a lot at this time in 1776 because people were still split, and people in power did not want anything to do with democracy. That's a familiar theme here in America. Paine's view of common sense was just, it's time for a revolution. And he knew that because I'm going to reveal some information about a new 6-volume set of Paine's works coming out soon at Princeton University Press. And I'll tell you that Paine built up to writing common sense for almost 20 years because he's been writing since 1750s, and he wrote with the most prestigious journal in England, and all with pseudonyms. He never used his own name. He never signed anything with his own name for public view. And he worked with Franklin from an early time. His first article together was 1762. And they worked at how to get independence for America for 15 years before he came to America. So he was well armed. He knew everything about Britain, and now he had to go put his feet on the ground for a year or so, found some comrades like thinking besides Franklin, and they led the fight for a declaration. They led the actual organizing to get things in place. They formed mass committees at this time. Common Sense was the start, and it's called the Whig Society, and they've written that out of history since the American Revolution, but they're responsible for getting the Declaration. They're responsible for leading many aspects of the American Revolution itself. And Common Sense is like a call to arms, basically is what it was. And there's a long history behind it that he put it all into a powerful pamphlet. So that's, anytime anybody has a question, like, what are you talking about? Just yell out.
What was the Whig Society? Why were you written this?
Because they were democratic. The Whig Society was, I can tell you who they were. There was David Rittenhouse, the scientist, I'm going to forget all these names. Timothy Matlack, who was the penman of the Declaration.
If you could speak a little bit louder.
Okay. Anyway, there was several people, and they organized a writing campaign in the spring of 1776 after Common Sense, and they challenged everybody who opposed secession. The dominant trend was reconciliation with Britain. When Common Sense came out, it tipped the scales to there's a majority of people who want independence, just because of Common Sense. There's only one historian who said, actually I know two now, one that's I own unfortunately. There's two historians who said Common Sense had no impact on the American Revolution, which is absurd. Well, I'm not going to give you my speech about history, but history is mostly a personal opinion of people. It's not a fact base. They have a few facts to make it look good, and they don't follow through. I respect a lot of historians, but there's a few who want their opinions into the book, change Paine into what he's acceptable. So that's way too long of an answer. But when I get started, you'll be here to midnight.
Okay, so that's a good question to answer.
Was religious diversity only Christianity? Morality seems a major key component. Yes, but it doesn't necessarily, well, this is all my opinions now. This is opinion. Christianity, Paine did not respect Christianity. He was not an atheist, he was a deist. Like a lot of the founders, which I hate that word, a lot of the founders were deists on both sides. On the Federalist side, which were the landowners and the rich people, and eventually the Democratic Republican Party with Jefferson. Most of the deists were in the Jefferson side, but there were many deists in the Federalist side. So morality does not depend on religion was Paine's idea. That's not my idea. Paine said, fighting for equality to Paine was the highest moral there could be. And that was his code, fighting for equality.
Someone asked about the book club.
Oh boy, this is impossible to answer. Could you suggest a book for one book club that would make for both educational and fun reading? I'm not a magician. That would encourage discussion about Paine and Revolution. Well, there's an author coming here next Saturday. It's a book talk. His name is Jack Kelly, and he wrote a book about Tom Paine's War. And it's a detailed description of what happened in 1776, and I think a little farther. So I wouldn't, there's no accurate book about Paine in existence right now. There will be a 6-volume set that will be very accurate. And it was not only unbelievable research, confirmed by other historians who used different methods than we did, and they came to the same conclusion that Paine actually has double the works that are known today. So it's going to be a long read, 6 volumes, and first volume is 1,000 pages. There's a lot. He wrote a couple of hundred more articles that you know about, and historic articles as well, very historic articles. Things that are famous that people didn't know who wrote. For example, and you'll surprise me, if anybody knows who Junius was. Anybody have a hint about Junius? Junius, Junius. In the middle of the 18th century, there was a writer called Junius, And in fact, it was a group of writers, very important names you would know. And Paine was the leader of that group, and he was the main Junius writer. That's what, I mean, he wrote, this was in 1769, where he started writing that. And it gives you an idea how much experience and writing skills were developed by the time he got to Common Sense, which is why it's so powerful. So all that history is going to be revealed, and you'll be up late many a night to try to catch up on this stuff. But what does that mean?
Made up history.
Yeah. Well, there's a phrase that we use constantly, and it's called the myth of the founding. It's because they wiped out Paine in history. They wiped out Franklin in history. Franklin didn't get recognition until the 1930s. First book came out about Franklin. Paine was just wiped out. There was no books allowed. Some underground people wrote books about his biography, and they were thrown in jail in England for doing that. So democracy was the big evil in the world, according to Power. So for getting a book as a group, anything for like comprehensive biography, it's so wrong that I hesitate to suggest that, but I would recommend anything by Eric Foner. He sticks to facts, and you can pick up a lot from that. And I'm trying to think, there's not many. Anything by Gregory Claes, Claeys, but that's not short, it's academic. He was our editor-in-chief on doing the 6 volumes. And he's good, but there's nothing like a short paperback that you can get an idea of Paine. It's very complex, it's very long, and it's going to be tough.
Is there a common thing that they get wrong?
Where's that? Say it. I didn't
Is
get
there a
it.
common thing that they get wrong?
That
That
they-
most historians are saying that it's not.
A lot. The people in this 1980s into the 90s, it starts to change a little bit. This is 1980s, not so. And they only recognize the Federalist Party people, which were the major landowners, the richest people. Robert Morris was the richest man in the country at the time. And they didn't recognize Paine at all in Philadelphia, that center, the American Revolution Center, not the Museum of the American Revolution, because that's terrible, really terrible. The federal building that was for this is not bad now. They started putting a couple of books of Paine up, but he was outlawed. And I'll give you a concrete, you can look it up. In the late 1940s, they banned all of Thomas Paine's writings in this country. And they put them in a warehouse. They went to the libraries and took them right out. That was McCarthyism. Some of you might remember this stuff. I remember it when I was 5 years old, not to say certain things, not to tell strange people anything that might sound wrong. That's McCarthyism. And that was banned all the way into the early 1960s.
Why was it banned?
And they regard somebody demanding democracy and certain common sense things like everybody knows today. In the late 1940s, McCarthyism was anybody who's advocating for democracy, and in the actual terms of democracy, he thought it was communist. And communists, they start by talking about democracy. And they started arresting, all that McCarthy stuff. They would arrest people, they would fire from their jobs, especially in Hollywood. And that's why Paine was a danger. And it still is now. I mean, it's a danger to a structure where only the maximum rich in the country are equal to themselves, but to nobody else. So
we had several questions from people
Okay.
asking what.
You gotta tell me to shut up faster.
No, never. Basically asking what Thomas Paine would make of today and the powers of our president and the federal government. And I think that is a much longer conversation than we're gonna
Well,
have
I'll keep
here.
it brief. I'll keep it brief.
Okay.
And then stand here and you can just tell me one
Okay, and
question.
then,
This is a quick round. What was the question?
what would he think of presidential
Oh,
power in the national government today?
He would say, we're back to where we started from, exactly what she'll say. So,
Okay. Where was he born? Where did he die? And how long did he live in New Rochelle?
okay. In reverse order. He only lived here for about 17 months. And he lived I've told a few people this already. I'm repeating myself. The cottage that he's in, you know where the cottage is over there. The lower part of it is Paine's cottage. The upper part, what's taller, that was built in the 1830s probably. But the cottage itself was way up on top of the hill of Paine Avenue, about 300 yards up. And they put the addition onto it, the tall one, on that cottage. And then in 1908, it came down to public land down here.
It's going to be open between 3:30 and 4 for self-guided tours if anyone wants to go through. That was a commercial.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that it on that? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Denied right to vote in New Rochelle? Yes. The Federalists controlled New Rochelle at that point, and they refused to have him. They claimed he was not a citizen, and legally, if he was fighting in the war, the Revolutionary War, he was automatically a citizen. So it was just some local Federalists who hated Thomas Paine.
So we did miss one. When did he die, and where was he born?
He was born in 1737 in Thetford, England, which is up in Norfolk County, upper right side. And what was the other half?
And where
did he die?
When did he die?
He died in 1809. He died in Greenwich Village. He requested to be buried on his farm. So one day he was walking, the entrance of the farm is where the statue is. That was the entrance to the farm. And the farm went from North Avenue to Mamaroneck. And he said, bury me on the farm. And then one day walking around the entrance, he said, this is a good place to be buried. And so they buried him there. They buried him right under the right side, going around the statue, going in. He's right under the road. He wasn't anymore, but he was buried right there. It was a dirt road at the time, or beside a dirt road. He was dug up in 1819 by Cobbett to take him back to spur a revolution, and he screwed it all up and lost the bones. But we have a couple of pieces of Thomas Paine. Our association went back to England and dug deep, and we found pieces of bones. So we have that stashed away well.
Okay. And who sent Thomas Paine to the colonies?
Nobody. Like I said, Paine and Franklin were joined at the hip. They were two of the same minds. And
Who sent him? He just came?
He came. They had planned, like I said, they had planned on writing to go back there. And they wrote long, extensive essays about the American Revolution is going to start, and the American Revolution is going to be won by the Americans. and they flooded literature on English side and in America side. And they all wrote, everything Paine wrote, he used a pseudonym. You'll never find a signature of Thomas Paine on a work. He worked underground his whole life. He was technically a professional revolutionary. And so they came over here together. Franklin waited 2 extra months because he had to wrap up his affairs because he was an official from America. But they came to organize.
How did they meet?
They met at the science lectures in 1750s when Paine got off the privateer boat that he was on. And he met Franklin during the lectures, of science lectures. And because Paine was a scientist as well, which there's a board up there about that. They had a like mind. Franklin had a problem with the slavery issue, and Paine weaned him away from that pretty quick. Because when he went back to America for a visit, he started releasing anybody. They only had households, well, still. They had workers in his printing plants. So Paine talked him out of that, and eventually Franklin became the head of the first abolitionist society in Philadelphia, and Paine joined as well. Yeah.
Okay, so we are a little bit over time.
Okay.
And so we are going to wrap it up with thanking everyone for coming, first of all. Thank you for all the readers, because not everyone finds it easy to speak in public, and so thank you very much for spending this time. So we have a couple of, as Gary mentioned, there are a couple of events coming up. If you saw our beacon,
yeah, you should grab one of these.
Grab one if you can. It's online as well. So Thomas Paine, TPHA.
TPHA.
Yep, is our website. But
no, it's still the website. You just go to thomaspaine.org.
And
that's all.
Right.
And you'll get the website.
Right. So next
you
Saturday.
Get those free.
Yeah, next Saturday at 4 p.m. we will be back here. On the 24th, we will be.
I will be.
You will be in
Bordentown.
In Bordentown,
New
Jersey, for a really good conversation. If you like to travel, please do. And then on the 29th, the topic is the times that tried and been sold. Thomas Paine service during Revolutionary War, and that is going to be via Zoom. Okay, so but it's on our website. It's on the Beacon. Again, we really thank you for joining us. It's important for us to have people know about Thomas Paine, but more importantly for our community to utilize this space, not only for the history it tells, but for the lessons it provides us in these turbulent times, as they say. And also, please, bring your children. This used to be the must-do 4th grade experience. When I was in 4th grade, this is where we came. So please come and read about Thomas Paine. It's important for us to understand exactly what democracy looks like, sounds like, and its history. And it starts here.
Yeah.
So we have some refreshments.
One thing.
Wait.
I just want to tell you that on the website, this is as much information as you would need to have a discussion group. If they all read the same, whatever you think is appropriate on the website, it's all there. It's all free.
Yep, it's free, and we encourage you to find out more about us. And some may think that this particular experience was priceless. But if you were inspired to give a number to it and donate, it's on our website. So again, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. And we will see you next week, maybe.
Excellent.